Oh, it's on. So, J.K. Rowling, the writer of Harry Potter, has been stirring up some really hot mess for the last few days. So, for the people who don't know about SJWism and representation, hashtag representation things, things were pretty easy back then in 90s and the early 2000s. But some really weird things happened or slightly started changing around 2006 or 7, and people all of a sudden started talking about representation all of a sudden in 2006. I remember they said that a character named Batwoman from DC's franchisee Batman was altered into a homosexual or lesbian during that time. That was the first incident during which a writer named Greg Rucka, he actually went in and converted a known character which was supposed to be Batman's bride. Batwoman was supposed to be Batman's bride, and he went in and changed the character into a lesbian. Now, ever since then, things have been stirring up a little more and more. Whether the representation of LGBTQ+ is right or wrong, that's completely up to the popularity of the subject. See, human society is nothing but a popularity contest. The whole society has a lot of constructs in them, and this whole representation thing is one of those constructs. Now, whether you believe that representation is right or wrong, it's completely up to the mass opinion. It's not, there is actually nothing right or wrong, like the quote from Brad Pitt from the 12 Monkeys movie says, there is no right or wrong. It is all about the popular opinion, and that's the whole thing about it. But J.K. Rowling has been stirring some hot mess in last few days. I'm reading from this article. J.K. Rowling keeps changing Harry Potter canon in an effort to improve it, but her efforts have mostly had the opposite effect. Rowling's original Harry Potter novel, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, took the world by storm when it published in 1997 and kicked off an entire series of books about the young wizard's adventures. The first Harry Potter movie adaptation hit theaters shortly after in 2001 and was an equally massive success. And this whole movie business, it made $7.7 billion. The 8 movies, they made $7.7 billion. There's something wrong information here. The 7 films is being told. Now, unsurprisingly, in the years since the Boy Who Lived saga concluded and larger franchises have expanded to encompass theme park lands, video games, the official Pottermore website, a sequel play titled Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and a series of prequel films about Magizoologist Newt Scamander, aka the Fantastic Beasts series. In that same time, Rowling has worked tirelessly to expand the wizarding world mythology, including the universe's history and the backstories of the many characters, and yet, if anything, Rowling seems to have hurt Harry Potter's continuity more than enriched it. Now, the thing about J.K. Rowling is one of those people who live in those areas where SJWism and representation weirdness is moved. Now, something more you need to know about the literature industry in US and these progressive countries is that 80% of their staff is female. 80% of their staff is literally female. They don't let anything that is too harsh to be put into the storybooks. So this whole place has become a feminist joint. Now, J.K. Rowling, I don't know if all of these representation things are her own or not, but she tries to pander to the SJW crowd a lot. Back in 2016, when Donald Trump became president, she actually went in and said that she's really worried that if the nuclear button is given to this Donald Trump, then what will happen? Nothing will happen, J.K. Rowling. Nothing will happen. The president also has a lot of security and a lot of people before him who check that nuclear button. He's not just going to say that, oh, I wanna kill these people and let's pull that button. No, something like this is not gonna happen. This is your imagination. This is SJW imagination. Things like this are very, very thought about before ever applying. Let's continue on this. Indeed, it seems like every time Rowling reveals something new about the wizarding world these days, the fan response is anything but positive. Of course, people have understood your SJW agenda. That's why it's not positive. However, to really understand why that is, we have to go back in time to point out when Rowling's changes to the Harry Potter canon tended to be better received. So, where we go back in 2007, Rowling surprised the world by revealing that Harry's beloved Hogwarts master, back in 2007, Albus Dumbledore was in fact gay. She declared it back in 2007, exactly one after when Greg Rucka turned Batwoman into a lesbian. This whole thing has been coming down from that time, 2006. The announcement was largely well received by many fans at the time, who applauded the writer for making such an important character in the franchise canonically queer. At the same time, even back then, some people questioned if Rowling would ever actually address Dumbledore's sexuality explicitly in a Wizarding World book and or film. After all, the 7 Harry Potter novels had all been published by then, and there wasn't much reason to suspect that the remaining films would include anything on the topic that wasn't already in the source material. Over the years that followed pre-Fantastic Beasts, Rowling's announcement about Dumbledore's came to feel a bit hollow, like a promise that would never really be fulfilled. So here's another thing that J.K. Rowling and all these people, Star Wars, we also saw this about Star Wars. They keep saying that they are gay and LGBTQ or anything, but they don't actually show it. They don't actually show it because they cannot show it. They cannot show it. They're making most of these mega budget films like Star Wars or Harry Potter. These are children's movies. In children's movies, they cannot show intense kissing scenes. They cannot show sex scenes or bad scenes. So all this talk about LGBTQ, this and this, they cannot actually show it. So let's just stop on that point that they're never gonna actually make it into the movie or the story itself, because if they do it, they will lose a lot of audience right there. Continuing, since then, Rowling has continued to flesh out the wizarding world in other ways, ranging from major reveals about the existence of other wizarding schools around the world to minor character details like Ravenclaw student Anthony Goldstein being Jewish. Okay, that doesn't really change a lot. I mean, this guy's name is Anthony Goldstein. It's Jewish. Everybody, I think, should know that somebody with a name like Goldstein must be Jewish. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is based on a story that Rowling co-wrote, took things a step further and revealed that Voldemort, the main villain of the Harry Potter series, had conceived a child with his faithful servant Bellatrix Lestrange prior to his death. Still, the Fantastic Beasts movies, which are being written by Rowling, have arguably made the most dramatic changes and amendments to the Harry Potter canon yet. So far, the more significant alterations include the reveal that Voldemort's snake Nagini was actually Maledictus, that is, a shape-shifting human who eventually became permanently trapped in their snake form, and the discovery that Dumbledore had a long-lost brother, though the latter reveal might end up being a lie concocted by Fantastic Beasts antagonist Gellert Grindelwald. Now, of course, the whole thing, this whole hot mess, is about making Wizarding World more exclusive. No, Wizarding World more inclusive. That's what this whole SJW thing is about. We need to be inclusive and all that. But actually, I don't really feel that anything can be so inclusive. When you make a children's movies are all about inclusion. There is no exclusion in any of them. But these people are so much crazy about inclusion. They want to show sex scenes in movies. They want to make fan fiction and not safe for work things about Harry Potter and stuff. It's generally been obvious why Rowling keeps adding new twists to the Harry Potter canon. It's part of an effort on her part to make the franchise more inclusive when it comes to race and sexuality in particular. While the original Harry Potter books and movies included people of color, Parvati, Padma, Patil, and Kingsley Shacklebolt Cho Chang. Cho Chang. There was a name Cho Chang. That sounds kind of racist. They were all primarily supporting characters who played smaller roles in the series' overarching narrative. The movies were relatively more inclusive than the novels when it came to race, admittedly, and would cast actors of various ethnicities to help fill out the halls of Hogwarts. Nevertheless, the protagonists were all white. All white. I have no problem with being them all white. The thing is, if I have to see some Indians, I will go to Bollywood. If I have to see some Chinese people, I can see the Chinese movies. These people are so much obsessed about inclusion. It just blows my mind. And there weren't any openly queer characters at the time. Even Dumbledore's orientation was limited to subtext only back then. Of course, it'll be subtext. Like I said, they cannot show anything over the top. That's the reality. For the most part, though, this wasn't unusual when Rowling was writing the Harry Potter books. In fact, she probably wasn't even taking diversity of race or sexuality into consideration all that much when she was crafting her novels. And she said, of course, she wasn't, because back then before 2006, everything was normal. They were not talking about race and sex all the time. People today are obsessed about it because they have too much time to get into weird discussions on internet and Twitter. Twitter is the wokest social media site, and I don't think that people should waste their time a lot on Twitter and Twitter battles. But what can I say? It's a good promotional tool nowadays. So we use that Twitter handle, and she certainly wasn't receiving feedback on the issue from critics and fans the way she has in the years since then. Rowling's attempts to correct this issue haven't been limited to mentioning details about Harry Potter characters after this fact either. The writer has incorporated people of color into her Fantastic Beasts scripts too. I mean, they're saying that if you look into the real world today, a lot of people are going into Western countries and all that, Because of that, there is a flux of colored people around them. But if you go 50, 60 years back in the 1900s, you can get all those colored people there. I mean, there are black people, I'm sure. There are American, African heritage people, but all these other colored people cannot be there in the 1900s. So this is crazy what they're doing right now. So a lot of people on this Twitter websites, they're not happy about Dumbledore and Grindelwald's theories. According to Mashable, the author talks about the couple in a feature included in the DVD and Blu-ray versions of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. So that's what this is about. This is about selling out the DVD on woke points. That's what it's all about. She's trying to sell out the DVD on woke points. The Harry Potter author added, "You can't know, you can believe you know." Well, I didn't get it. Their relationship was incredibly intense. Rowling is saying this. The relationship was incredibly intense. It was passionate and it was a love relationship. But as happens in any relationship, gay or straight or whatever label we want to put it on it, one never knows really what the other person is feeling. Oh my God. So I'm less interested in the sexual side, though I believe there is a sexual dimension to this relationship than I am in the sense of the emotions they felt for each other, which ultimately is the most fascinating thing about all human relationships, she said. A representative for Rowling told CNN the author was unavailable for comment. Of course, she's unavailable for the comment. Basically, when you reach up to that fame, when you are a billionaire, there are a lot of people who are basically writing you all the notes that you are going to read to the public. And that's what she's actually doing. She can't say anything on her own. Everything that she is saying is actually been copyrighted, written by some other publishers or publicists. These publicists control every word that she puts out. But again, she is kind of an SJW for the whole Trump thing, I think. And she also, there's a famous thing that she also told her fans to burn her books because if they don't like her politics. I mean, what kind of insane artist would say something like that? Burn my books if you don't like my politics. She's definitely crazy SJW. That's it for today. We'll be back with more news, more views, and more cringe, and some more reviews as well. I think I will do something on Aquaman, but let's see what happens. If you like this content, please like and subscribe and comment. I would like to know what you think about Miss J.K. Rowling or Miss J.K. Rowling. I don't know if she's married or not. Who cares? Peace.